Welcome everyone. This is a webinar between Howard and myself, and about what CPD do we need to be thinking about doing. Really weird times, and I'm going to try not to say too many of these phrases that have been bandied about, and because we've all lived through it. So, but you know, amongst all of this and amongst all the chaos and the stress and the worry from lots of different angles, there is still always that need to do some CPD. And weirdly enough, so many of you do this already, and you know, possibly whether you a lot of you will recognise you're doing it, but some don't. So we just thought, hey, you know, we'll just talk about it for a short while this morning and see, you know, a bit of a revision. So I do apologise in advance if some of this is a bit, you know, beneath your current level of knowledge and understanding about CPD, because there are some people who still muddled about it, that, you know, they're still not too clear. So we are going to start a little bit simple, and you know, for the benefit of those guys on the call, and then we're going to just work through and just talk about some things as we go through. We have got a couple. We're going to try something different today, which we haven't done recently, is to ask you some questions like on a poll. So we've got some questions lined up. They're just yes or no, and we'll share the results, you know, with that. And obviously it's up to you what you want to say. You can click yes or no, lie through your teeth, or you want to be honest. It's entirely up to you. But it's just, you know, just for fun, a little bit of a snapshot, just so we can get an idea, really. So let's get on with it. So what we're going to cover is why CPD is important, what it is and why it's important, what counts, does it need to be recorded, and if it does, who wants to see this anyway? You know, I'm just recording it down for myself, or is it somebody actually going to look at this at some point? So we'll have a little look at that. We'll also look at why it's so, you know, it is still continues to be important at the moment, even with this you know, pandemic that we're in. So continuous professional development. Notice there's a slight slant on the word continuous. So it is, you know, it is continuous. You're always needing to do it. So it is a very individual learning journey for us all. So when we identify a need and we need to, and we think, okay, I need to learn about that, you go off and you learn it, you fill that void, fill that need, whether it's personal or more professional with your business, then we put that plan into action. So implement that, fill that void, and then you know, the next phase in that cycle would be to sort of think, okay, did that work? Have I filled that need? Do I need to do anything else? And you know, and so on and so on. So it's a, you know, it's a constant really cycle of that. Anything that you've got in place, so you guys and girls on here have got an awful lot of knowledge with this industry. It's anything that you've got and any knowledge that it is existing, whether it's, you know, more academic or it's more practical information and skills, then it's a matter of keeping that up to date once you've acquired it as well, as we know. So throughout all of these last few weeks, really weird times for us all. So many of you have been, for example, doing CPD because you've been accessing our toolkit on driving.org, and we've had lots of fun and games with getting people on there because there were so many of you trying to get on it at one time. Brought the site down more times than we can remember, but that's a good, you know, that's a good thing, because it shows that people are passionate. You need to know, you want to know, for many different reasons. Everyone's main driver with that, pardon the pun, is probably through, you know, making sure you're doing things right, you're being compliant, and you're being safe for your benefit, your household, and obviously your pupils as well. So professionals, so CPD is where professionals, you know, we as professionals, we are professionals, commit to enhancing our personal and professional skills throughout our career, hence the continuous part. And it's also, as the bottom bit says, it's about being reactive and conscientious, and being proactive, that should say, sorry, and conscientious, not about being reactive and passive. So going out, finding a need, rather than you finding out from someone else down the road because you're not in the know, you haven't got the right links, you know, you might not be associated to a national association or something like that, or you might not be having the emails through from DVSA, whatever it may be, you know, you're not in the know and being in the dark. So you need to make sure that you're getting your email address out there, you're making sure that that's up to date so you can get those updates and that feedback that you need to channel back into your business. So, as I say, engaging in CPD, being the continuing bit, ensures that both academic and practical qualifications don't become outdated or obsolete. So you can imagine the level of risk. So if you keep yourself up to date, you keep yourself knowledgeable, any information and skills you've got, keep them current, keep them up to date, and keep learning new things all the time as you are, helps to lower the risk to you and your customers. So, for example, the COVID-19, what new changes, new measures you need to put in place, and CPD allows individuals to continually upskill or reskill, regardless of occupation, age, or even education level. So it's not just for us, it's for any industry, it's for any professional, it's for anyone who has a need to have information and to, has a need to apply that information. So that's everybody in the world, effectively. So we need to make sure that every single one of us is identifying that, yes, we do CPD, we just might not do it in such an obvious way. Sometimes it's a case of, let me just go back a slide. Now I'll come on to that in a moment. Also, just at the bottom there, use the check sheet. There's a check sheet in our toolkit to keep a record of your checks and cleaning regime. So that is so important that you do that and go through the risk assessments that are on the toolkit as well, because that then it's a bit about CYA, or cover your backside. So you need to make sure that you are doing this to make sure you are safe, you are compliant yourselves and your business, and that then you can tell your pupils and your customers, so that makes them feel a bit more comfortable, a bit more reassured that you're going to these extra measures and these extra lengths to keep them safe as well. Parents, you've probably got a mixture of things from parents as well. So some parents want their young drivers to go back soon as possible, and they've been quite, vocal about that. We've been hearing, and others have been, the other end of the scale. They're not too happy about people returning yet, so they want to hold off until, So there's a whole mixed bag, as I'm sure you've all found out from keeping in touch with your pupils. But again, keeping that extra bit of documentation, whether it's digital or whether it's a bit of paper, then it just then helps you to say, yeah, right, okay, I like the cleaning regime example at the bottom, just enables you to say, okay, on the 4th of July, I've cleaned the car down, I tip which bits I've cleaned, I've done this, and you can say, after each lesson. It just helps build up a picture of what you've done. Anything to add on that, Howard?
Yeah, I have actually. It's like a track record. What you're doing,
exactly.
You are showing that you are doing that regime all of the time, and it's very necessary you do this now, because we've got the situation of the Test and Trace app, which hasn't worked very well, but the government are still using it, and you are probably aware now that that is part of the criteria for a student going for test, that they've got to be, have to have the app and be registered to it active so they can do their test. The reason we want you to use this check sheet in the toolkit for cleaning your van is that, if you clean your car, is if you are in a situation where someone says, I think I caught the coronavirus from you, don't worry, your PLPI, your public liability covers you, providing you are meeting government requirements. And what we've done with this sheet is put things on there to ensure that the daily checks are done. You've communicated with people to make sure reasonably practicable interventions to ensure they're not getting into the car unwell, and that you also are fit. All this is on that list. And if you've got these for each student each week, then anything goes wrong and someone says, I think you gave me coronavirus, you've got a damn good case in court to say, well, you prove it's reasonably practicable that I possibly did when I've got all this evidence here in front of me. I've got a clean car, I've got all the regime here, I've got everything from the toolkit I'm using, I've followed it, I've written down what I've learned from it. That's CPD, not certificates. I know you've done a test in the toolkit as well, but that's a certificate. You have to write down what you've learned from it and how you're going to use it. In other words, you're showing in your track record how you are developing, how you have changed from the old ways to the new ways. And this little check sheet we've got is a very, very important bit of kit.
Absolutely. Thank you, Howard. I'm just going to move on to the next one. So why is it important? So again, makes it easy for others to do business with you as another example of that on top of what we've just said. So another example is, maybe taking into account that we don't want to be handling cash as much as possible. And so changing the way that you take the payments. Now, I'm sure a lot of you have revised that, or you were doing that anyway, because I know cash is becoming less and less. It still is used by a lot of ADIs, but perhaps less so now with in light of what's just happened over the last few weeks. So just putting in a new online booking system or taking cash payments, so you've obviously thought, okay, I need to do this. I need to be handling things as little as I can. Cash is a great big, notes and coins are, breeding grounds for germs and viruses. So it's a case of, I'm going to do this. I'm going to say to my pupils, as of now, in the interest of keeping you and me safe, this is what I'm going to do. So, and these are how you can pay for your lessons. And as we've said on previous webinars, and Carly, when she's done them, she said, think about locking in that money, get your business hat on and thinking about how you can then secure more funds for your business rather than one lesson at a time. Some of you do this already. So many of you do the block bookings and you lock people into those payments. You keep records of the payments. So it's all accountable. No one can say, well, you owe me this. And you say, actually, no. So, you do a good system of that anyway, a lot of you. So continue doing that and just making sure that, you think along those lines as well, because all of your businesses have suffered so much and you need to make sure that you can recover as quick as you can. And one thing is to lower that risk and to try and lock those payments in a little bit better as well. Anything else on that one, Howard?
No, sorry, I'm answering some answers in the questions. No, absolutely fine what you said there. There's nothing to add.
Okie dokie. So what counts as CPD? So this is where sometimes it can get a bit turbulent for people because they're like, I don't know what counts. What am I doing? So as Howard says, and rightly so, we'll come on to that in the next slide or two. Once you've done it, then record it down and we'll come on to that. But at the moment, it can take many forms. So as we said, it can be an academic thing, a theoretical thing, or it could be practical, theory-based, a training course, classroom, blended, online learning, all that type of thing. When we say blended learning, that can be an example of a little bit face-to-face with some online self-guided learning in your own time, and you do some, different forms of learning through it to achieve a particular aim or a goal. Webinars, so you can use these towards your CPD because we've done so many of them over the summer, and there's been an awful lot of information DIA have been putting out, so you can use that information and, as I say, listen to them again if you need to, and just put a log of down, why I listened to it, what did I want to achieve from this today? Why did I join this session? Why did I spend my hour and listen to this? Has it filled that void? Have I achieved what I wanted it? Have I got the information I needed? If so, great. How are you going to implement it? And then just keep checking back. Is it still working? Or do I need to update that? Remember we said at the beginning, anything you have you need to keep checking the use by date on it. Does it have, so for example, you might have a formal qualification that has a 2-year or 3-year life validity period or expiry date on it. So it could be something like that. So therefore you want to continue with that qualification, so you might need to refresh it or do something to keep that current. In everything that's going on at the moment, to make sure you're safe and you're compliant with COVID and returning to work, a lot of you will be from tomorrow, then just making sure that you are up to date as you possibly can be. And a lot of you, especially you guys and girls on these webinars, you have been, because you've been very, very proactive, and we've had so many people on them. So, and our website going down so many times as it has, it's got quite high tolerances anyway, but it's that's just proof that you guys are really doing all you can to make sure everything you're safe and compliant you can be.
You've given us a lovely problem to have, basically, by letting it drop like that. To be honest, it just shows how interested you are and how much you are seeking new information. One comment I've got here is from Steve. He says, even reading the DIA monthly magazine, I'm logging a CPD. So he's reading it, taking the information and writing down what he's learned. That's what he's doing.
That's good. Well done. And that can count. It can come in all these different forms. So it can be the magazine. As I say, it can be any of this thing. If you've got maybe even a local association meeting that you're part of, they're so valuable for information. And we urge everyone to be part of a national group such as us, and there are others as well, I understand, but they're and also your local groups, because you're getting that more what's going on in your local community information and sharing that amongst your colleagues. So hopefully then your local groups, you won't have done the face-to-face meetings for some time, obviously, that you've got around it in other ways. So, for example, doing a Zoom session with each other. So have that they can still go on, and you get different amounts from different things, different sort of types of meetings, conferences as well. So we do conferences every year, and so you get a lot of information from them, from the sessions that we have with DVSA and from the individual workshops afterwards in particular. So that can all count as well, but it needs to be meaningful for you. Like we said at the beginning, it's got to be a very individual, very personalized journey, and what's right for you, what's right for your business, and what's right for your customers. So, and what's right for me may not be right for Howard, and vice versa. So some things will cross over. So just bear that in mind, and you need to be able to apply it. Make sure you get that bit of return on your investment. Think, okay, I've put in that money for that course, or that day off, or that time to listen to that webinar. You need to churn that back into your business. You need to make sure that you're getting that bang for your buck, or your time, if you like. So make sure you apply what you've learned, and if you've got questions, come back to us and ask. I'm going to move on to the next slide. Anything else, Howard?
Ideally, your CPD needs to be planned. It shouldn't be done on the spur of the moment and take a course and expect that course to provide you with income. It doesn't always happen, because sometimes geographically you've gone and done CPD for an area that's completely swamped. So still do your research on what CPD you're going to do. So the simplest CPD is to read information and take it on and build up your knowledge base. That's the simplest form of CPD.
Don't forget those practical skills as well, like your driving and, those sorts of things. So there are lots of practical things, quite simple things that you can do as well. So you can brush up with an advanced test, when you're able to do that. So other things are available and out there. So this is the part that we were saying earlier. Does it need to be recorded, and who would see it? So yeah, you should record your CPD activities, so to build up a record of your achievements. This can be in a format that works for you, and also a format which is easily read or viewed by somebody else who you would want to see it. So for example, at the bottom, showing your CPD activities for your standards check to the examiner. And also if you are going for a particular a job role within the industry, or even outside the industry, as the case may be, say, this is what I've done, this is what I've done within my current role to keep myself up to date, up to speed with everything, and this is what I've done. As long as you've got, as Howard said, certificates are lovely, but they don't show what you have gained from it. So two things: flip it over and write it on the back. But if you don't want to ruin your certificate, create a new little log. As I say, it can be any format that works for you, digital or paper-based, and just keep a record of it. Just follow those little outlines, what I've done, what I hope to achieve, why I did it, and has it achieved what I wanted it to do, yes or no. And it's kind of a bit like a flow chart. So if yes, great, okay, implement it, and then just continue to review it every now and again. If it's a no, hasn't done it, why not? What do I need to do? And then just make sure you go off and fill that. Sounds like a lot of work, but it doesn't have to be. And you can always come and chat to us if you want to about any individual questions or queries that you may have. But again, just going back to the standards check one, we'll say you don't have to take any CPD. It's not mandatory that you take it along on a standards check when they're back up and running. But I will say to our members, put yourself in examiner's shoes. If you were the examiner and I was coming to you for my standards check and you were my examiner, and Howard was also coming to you on the same day for his standards check. So if I didn't bring a CPD record with me, Howard did. You can't mark us down for it. If we both perform the same on the day, great. But then it's going to look a little bit nicer on Howard's part because he's sort of gone that extra mile and he's shown, hey, look, this is what I've done if you'd like to see what I've done. So that, just bear that in mind. It shows professionalism. It shows that you've gone that extra bit and it shows you care as well, So anything else to add on that one, Howard?
No. So I was writing another answer there. No, I'm answering the answers to the questions here. While I'm on actually at the moment, the people who are on the side here listening, you've got a question box. And if you are not putting a question in, don't be afraid to go where it says questions, because there's two parts of it. There's answered and unanswered questions. So you write in the unanswered bit. If you press on the answered bit, you'll see all the responses that I am making to the question, so you can get those as well. Okay, just to let you know they're there. I'm replying to everyone on all the questions that are coming in. So if you go into the unanswered questions, you will see the question and you will see the response as well.
Okay. So this is now where it has potential, as we said at the beginning, to go slightly awry, but it won't do. We'll be fine. And just for fun, we thought we'd do a quick poll, just to get a snapshot of how many of you engaged in CPD. So they are 3 questions we'll ask. They're closed questions, so just require a yes or a no answer. So let's have a little go at this now. So you should all now see a question. Have you done any CPD during COVID-19? Yes or no? Well, hey, look at that. You two, you guys are quick. I like the honesty, whoever's put no. Fair enough. Okay, so let me show you that result. So most of you, yes, you have. Fantastic. So for those of you who have, good work. For those of you who haven't, have a little think, why not? And again, if you want to come and chat with us, or maybe you've put no and you have done the CPD, but you don't kind of recognize it, you don't see that you've done it. So that is quite a common thing. So for those of you who haven't, then that's highly likely. But again, if there's anything you want to chat about, just come back, email support@driving.org, and Howard and I will get back to you. We can always do a call with you if you'd like. So thank you for that one. Now let's have a little look at the next question. Are you aware of the new test procedures from DVSA? Okay, so at the moment, the votes are still coming in. I think that's everyone. Still trickling in before I show the result to everyone. Okay, so there we go. Most of you, yes, you have, and you are. A couple of you, no. So we can always have a chat with you about that as well. Just so you are in the know on that. And final question. Hope everyone's enjoying these questions, by the way. This is the next one. Have you read the new NASP guidelines? So NASP is the National Association Strategic Partnership. So that comprises of ADI-NJC, DIA, and MSA. So the 3 of us associations are collectively known as NASP, and we are a tier 1 stakeholder group for DVSA. So we get the information, we speak with them, and get the information from them direct, and ahead of other people. So it's a great thing to be part of. There is a NASP website. If you Google, it's a bit of a mouthful because the website URLs it's I can give it to both. So it's National Associations Strategic Partnership, rolls off the tongue, or the website address is n-a-s-p.co.uk. So there is that website if you are not familiar, because a couple of you said no, most of you have said yes. So you can have a look. For those of you who are unaware, I'd urge you to go on there. So you can, again, Google National Associations Strategic Partnership, and you'll see, when you go on the landing page, you'll see the Corona advice up there on the top right hand side, and it will be the latest update from yesterday. So that got sent out. Those of you who did see it, there was a correction, and it was about the test and trace. So we have corrected that today. So those of you who did say, I don't think this bit's quite right, yeah, we've amended that. So thank you for your inputs with that. But everything else on there, that's recommendations from NASP for you. Obviously, DVSA put out their new information. This is what they're doing as DVSA, as the testing body, and the NASP is the guidance for us, for our industry, based on what they're doing a lot of the time as well. So just have a little look on there if you haven't done so already. That would be in your interests. Thank you for that. Anything else to add on there, Howard?
Just to say that we've got some people who can't answer, who are on iPads, and apparently they can't pick up the question. They can't see the poll at all.
Oh, okay. Sorry, guys. We didn't realise. We thought it'd be. We'll look into that. Tom, I know he's listening in the background. I know, Tom, if you could make a note, that'd be great. I will do too, and we'll see whether we can look into that a little bit more. But appreciate your inputs there anyway, guys. Thank you for everyone that did that. So yeah, I mean, I don't know how you feel about the polls, whether you like those as part of webinars going forward, and we can get a kind of a sense of who opinions and things like that. So if you like that little idea, then we can always do some more. Let us know. Okay, well, we're not far off the end of these slides at the moment, so we can probably do a few more questions at the end. So as I say, industry updates from us and other official sources of information, webinars, courses. Each business, as I say, can introduce new health and safety measures to make sure you're safe and you're compliant. And again, probably a lot of you have had a lot of time to evaluate your business as a whole and identify these areas of change, as we've given some examples already. So many ways that it can be done, but the important thing is just to follow that little routine of identify, what do I need? There's an issue over here, or I don't know, I need to change this part of my business because of this. How am I best going to do it? Finding a solution that works. Does it work? Yes, reflect on it, and so on. And if it's more for you, for a personal thing, just think, well, okay, I need some more information about that. I don't know enough about it. I've got questions. So you can come and speak to us. If you're a DI member, you're part of our help desk, you can come and chat to one of us. That's fine. We can help you, steer you in the right direction. Or, we can steer you into the official sources of information if it's not from us. And you might want to do, as I say, read a magazine, do a training course, something like that. So it's very personal for each person, and just make sure that it's relevant for you. So Howard, I was going to say, are you able to?
Yeah, I'll do this one. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. What we're doing now is we're the whole webinar is about CPD, as you know, but the thing is, tomorrow we all go back to work. Or most of us do. So the situation we have is tomorrow is going to be a new regime for you, pretty much. So you are actually literally going to be in practical steps of CPD tomorrow, learning something for the first time, because it's going to be the start of a new beginning in terms of how we have to manage things. So what we're talking about is today we've spoken about research. We've asked questions and done the poll. The communications issued by the DVSA and the DIA, are you up together with them? Because they contain what the processes are and protocols are, and also what equipment you're going to need. So have you researched PPE? Have you researched if you need it? If you are taking people out tomorrow, are you going to phone them today to find out if they're well, and what PPE are they going to bring to your vehicle? Are you thinking of supplying all the PPE? Well, if you do, just make sure if you're supplying gloves that these people, if they're latex gloves, don't have a latex allergy, for example, or you're going to have another problem in the car. So research, you need to know the information that you're going to be using tomorrow. So research is very necessary. Do you know what the test regime is? Because the very first question you're probably getting asked is, when can I do my test? Well, the test bookings for new students doesn't open yet. There is no discernitive date on that yet. So you can tell them that. But there are dates that have been released of when things will start happening. The motorbikes start tomorrow. ERS, which is the Enhanced Rider Scheme, starts tomorrow. There's other things that start on the 6th. All the examiners will be going back to finish all of the key worker tests on Monday. So all this information needs to be known. And all of the normal tests, I think, start on the 22nd of July, I think.
At the moment, well, yeah. So what they got to do, obviously, as we know, is work through the backlog first, and so they'd be contacting those whose tests are being rescheduled or currently on hold. So work through those, and that's when those, there'll be restriction for those.
So tomorrow you're going back. So have you organised the vehicle? Is the vehicle all ready to go? Is it clean? If you've been looking in the toolkit, you'll know about the deep clean we mentioned in returning to work. And that needs to be done today if you're working tomorrow, if you haven't done it. And it needs to be done by you, not by a valeting company. And it involves, as the webinar says, if you haven't seen this yet, you can enter the toolkit through the DIA members area if you're a member. But I've got a feeling that this particular webinar is still in the webinar section of the DIA Academy. I think it still is at the moment, but it won't be for much longer. So you need to organise your vehicle is clean. Make sure the cleanliness is there. You've got your packs of PPE in the boot or whatever, and you've organised who is going to supply PPE in terms of the candidate. Also organise those candidates. Tell them when you communicate to them that there's a new regime, and what are they going to do with their house keys? What are they going to do with their mobile phone? Because you don't want it touching your dashboard. You don't want it in your door pocket. You ideally either want it in a bag that can go into the boot, a little plastic bag can go into the boot, or it's left at home. But those things cannot touch the dashboard anymore and can't go in the door pocket anymore. Or it's got to stay on their person, whether it's male or female. It's got to be more secure than it used to be. So communicate with them. Tell them how things are going to happen in the car. Tell them that you're not going to shake their hands, that they're not going to get straight into the vehicle, that you're going to have a license check with them tomorrow, regardless of whether they're provisional license or how far they are down their training. Their licenses need to be checked again. They've been out of action for 10 weeks. They could have got up to all sorts of mayhem and mischief. So to protect you and a duty of care to you, you need to have a license code from them today that you can check online. So you would need the license code from them, from the DVLA website or gov.uk. They can have it that way. And you would need to have the code and the last 8 characters of their driver number. So you can access that code today or tomorrow before you see them to make sure that their license is in order. You also need to do an eyesight test with them too. Check their eyes again before they get in the car. Explain what you're going to do outside the car and then get them sorted out. So everything's going to change. You're not going to get straight in the car and sit down, how are you, shake hands, etc. That can't happen. So communication needs to take place today of what's going to happen tomorrow, but you also need to communicate to them again tomorrow by phone before you pick them up to make sure you're not going for a wasted journey. Make sure they haven't become ill during the day or someone in their household isn't in a situation where they now need to be shielded and they haven't come into contact with people who've been abroad. Okay, so this is CPD for you now on your feet, really. It's things that you need to be able to do on a regular basis for all of your students. And then where you find that the system that you started doing hasn't quite worked, you're going to review the process and refine it where necessary, and then communicate that to your students as well. Okay, so the CPD is on your feet now for tomorrow. There are things you do need to get ready today. Your car especially needs to be deep cleaned today, and everything in place. And in the toolkit we mentioned earlier on about the check sheet for doing the risk assessments, there is a risk assessment matrix in there which you can look at to ensure you know what risks there are taking place for the people that you are engaging with, but also the paper sheet which goes through all the checks, like the daily checks. You don't need to do the daily checks for every single student. You only do them once, but at least you can show that they have been done, and you can go through a sheet for each student you've got, and you can show the parents that you've done the certificate within the toolkit to show that you understand the cleaning regime. And by going through the whole of that toolkit, you will actually learn a great deal about the COVID-19 virus itself, how it's come about, the pathogens, all about the reservoirs and everything else of where it is, and how you can help to, I say extinguish it, but to help reduce the spread by doing the interventions you're putting into your vehicle and getting everyone to understand why you are doing what you're doing and why you need them to do what you're asking them to do. It's not just driving anymore. It's a partnership a new partnership that you have to organise in order to meet the objective of these people getting to their driving test. And they're going to ask you for a lot more information now.
Yeah.
They're completely in the cold.
A lot of it's, we've had a couple of comments, things like if you're going to, there's the whole latex allergy you need to be very careful of for pupils, if anyone, if gloves are going to be worn. So that also needs to be mentioned to them and asked. Also about some of these, Stephen's made a comment about theft from the boot. So if you've got central locking car, which all of us do pretty much these days, and you're placing items in the boot, have a roll of bags, which is one thing, one bag per person, we would say, to stop any cross-contamination, all the items in the boot, and then it's a case of, if you're then sat at the lights, someone can then just open that boot. So unless it can be locked separately from the doors. So you need to think about maybe talking to them about central locking. Some cars will auto lock anyway, but it's just another point to consider. You don't want somebody just opening the boot, or it has happened on lessons where back door's been opened while you sat at the lights and your bag's gone. So central locking or locking the doors and the boot, very important. But also just go through that process to assure the pupil that their items will be safe. It's locked. Secondly, how they can get out, what happens in a situation where you need to get out the car quickly, and get them maybe to try the door. So to prove to them that you can still get out, but it just means that people can't get in, that type of thing. So that's also a really good point. Thank you, Stephen. Okay, anything else to add on that?
Not from me.
Not from you. Okie dokie. Right, let's have a little look at the next one. Right, so we're at the end of what we wanted to cover with you today. So it's just on to any further questions.
I've got questions here from Maggie. I've just answered one of them through the thing here, but it's a question about the time that's now being allowed with cars turning up only 5 minutes at the test centre. Doesn't give a lot of time to wipe the car down. Well, the thing is, it has to be done because the examiner is going to ask the question if it has been done, and needs to be assured that it is. They will wipe down all of the contact points when they get in, but they do need to know that the vehicle is clean. So you will have to do a wipe down. And when you are at the test centre car parks, yes, there will be a lot of movement with cars coming in and going out, and the waiting rooms are not open for tests taking place. Carly got a very long response from the DVSA over this, and it is to do with HSE guidelines and Health England guidelines on the amount of space available for so many people coming in to the establishment at the same time, causing problems with circulation of air, etc. And the DVSA were told by lawyers that the test centres cannot be used currently possibly until we go down from security level 3 to security level 2. And that means that the social distancing will pretty much be wiped out altogether. So the DVSA, obviously no one's bargained for the coronavirus thing hitting us in the first place, and they can only work with the facilities that they've got. And as a result, some test centres in the country cannot open. So there may be some pockets around the country where students will have to go further away to do their tests, but they'll know about that when they do the booking, because the test centre will not show on the list that they can take their tests at.
Thank you. Okay. Yes, so I know, I appreciate, if it's rainy or something like that, you've just got to, as we're saying, no one expected any of this, and to clean down, if everyone was allowed in the test centre waiting room, then the DVSA have got to put measures in to clean that area down after every time someone's been in there, and that's just not something that they can do. It's so much of a nightmare for them to try and do that. So that's why they're saying outside. The test times might vary slightly to try and keep people apart as much as they can. So just bear in mind the social distancing as well. Your pupils obviously going to be really nervous, so they might need just a little gentle reminder about keeping the distance. They may not. A lot of people are very, very aware of it these days. It's become part of what we do. But the test nerves, as you know, does funny things to our heads. So and your pupils. So we just got to might need to just give a little gentle reminder to them as well.
We've got a question now on the test and trace, which we've got here. Sarah's asked it, but it's been asked before as well, which I've answered. But the DVSA are asking for information to be taken from the candidates for test and trace. The idea was for the app to be used, the NHS app. There were 2 versions of it. Trialed on the Isle of Wight. One was found not to be so communicative with Google, with Apple phones, I think it was iPhones. It would do the Android, but it wasn't communicating properly with the iPhones, I believe. And so they've gone on to the second version, which are still updating, which is supposed to be available. One of the people listening has said it's not available. I wasn't aware it wasn't available today, because it was available yesterday. So the DVSA, in one of their slides, they amended some of the information to say that they are gathering information from the students. However, you can still register to the system on the NHS test and trace website, which is available. So the registrations can be done there. The question I've had this morning at DIA in the office is, should the ADIs be doing it as well? Well, ideally, to be professional, yes, you should be, because we come back to this situation in this same question here, Sarah. Really, what you've asked is also about you're unassumingly asking the question about tests being cancelled as well here, because if you're in a situation where your student becomes a situation where they can't go to the test because of coronavirus, that means that they've been in contact with you. You can't use your car, and if you actually become prevalent with COVID-19, your car's not available for your students either. So the situation is, we've got a chuck the stone in the pond and watch the ripples go. It's that situation where it affects and affects and affects, like the domino principle. So the people, everybody really in the industry needs to be in the test and trace system for so the DVSA can trace for the sake of their examiners, because they have a duty of care. Everyone thinks, oh, examiners examiners, but the DVSA do have a duty of care to the examiners and to a degree to the students, because the test that takes place is a contract between the DVSA and the students. That's why the DVSA have only mentioned students join the system, but really your car's being used and you're being affected, therefore the ADIs need to register as well.
Okay. Yeah, so the next one about a webinar about the about the first week back. Funny enough, next Friday that's what we're doing.
We're actually doing that next week, Barry.
Fine.
We are doing it.
That's been out for a couple of days, I think.
Yeah.
A day or two ago. So yeah, good thinking there. And yes, that's what we're going to tackle next week, just to kind of say, look, those of you that did go back, because we understand that some won't for various reasons. For those of you who did, how was it? And we imagine that, and we're not going to do a slideshow and all the rest of it. It will probably just be a let's just talk, and ask us anything type thing. It will probably be just myself and Howard. Carly might join us, not sure, but we're certainly going to have a little look at that.
Can we do a poll of who is returning tomorrow? Can you say that? Olivia, can you do that or not?
Now. I'm trying to do one in the background.
Oh, okay, right. Okay, I'll go on to the next one. Then Maggie's asking, do you have the same supplies for the toolkit from last Friday's session with all components of kit available? When I tried to buy, there were no masks, yet it didn't display beforehand. I haven't purchased what was left. Please advise. The organisation that we're using for the PPE is we don't have much dealings with them. We've spoken to them. They have assured us they can supply, and all we are doing is giving you a link to them. You're not buying through us. We are not taking any commissions for this or anything else. It's literally sending you their way so they can manage you. So I can't really answer that, Maggie, to be honest. I don't know what the problem is there. But when we were talking to them only last week, they assured us they had supplies of everything.
Okay, now here goes. Here goes nothing. How's that? On your polls, on your left.
It's showing. Yeah, they're getting responses there.
It's still fluctuating, but there is a clear, very clear. Right, there we go. So most of you on here, probably 2/3 of you have said no. Can everyone see that?
Right, the 70 people we've got listening at the moment, 61 have reported they are returning to work tomorrow.
Yeah. So hold on a minute. I've got 15 on the poll. It says you can all see that 15 yeses and 46 nos.
I didn't see that. Oh, there it is. Yeah. Oh no, sorry, they're not returning. Oh, I'm with you. Okay, sorry, I didn't see that bit.
Yeah, 62 people answered.
Yeah. Okay. Right. Okay.
So yeah, I mean that kind of doesn't surprise us really, because the amount of people that we've spoken to, and there's so much worry about returning to work. About COVID-19, about catching it yourself, and affecting your household and your loved ones. And my goodness, it's an unthinkable situation. But I imagine that. I mean, let's put it. I'm particularly worried about it as well. And as like hairdressers and things, I'm not going down the whole hairdresser route with likening it to us, because it's not quite the same. However, I will just use the example where my hairdresser contacted me a week ago and said, hey, we're going to be opening from next couple of weeks, and would you like to make an appointment? And I politely declined, because I said, look, I'd like to see how this goes for a little while first, and I'd like to kind of keep an eye on what the government this R number, and I'm being really cautious about it, because it's some people are like that and some people are not so worried, and there's a whole mixed bag of responses, isn't there? But so I can understand why most of you there, a lot of people that Howard, I suppose you've spoken to a lot as well, I have, that said, yeah, I'm going back, no problem. I need to go back financially. I know that there is that aspect that's pushing people to go back when they're not happy as well. But a lot of people are saying, no, I'm going to deal with this for a little bit longer, and I just need to see how things are.
Okay, I've got a question, something in the chat here from Ian. It's a comment. Now, how long should we keep our CPD records for? Keep them as long as you need to. I certainly used to keep mine when I was training learners for the whole length I waited for my check test or standards check. I kept the whole thing in a file. So some of it could have been 4 years long, providing, as Olivia said, it wasn't a qualification. It needed to be renewed every 3 years. So like the diamond special test, that's a 2 or 3 years.
Yes.
How many is it?
Elite test.
Sorry, yes, elite there.
Different name.
Is it 3 years or 2 years? I've forgotten now.
It's I refresh it every 3, but for examiners and stuff, it's 2.
That's right. Yes. So if you're doing it 3 yearly and you've got a 4-year wait for your standards check, then you'd change that over. So you'd effectively keep both certificates in there to show that you have renewed it. So it's to keep it as long as you think you need it until you update. That's the answer to that, really. We're talking about the registering to the information for the test and trace. The websites are not accepting advanced registrations, I understand. So we're going to have to go back and have a look at this again, because they were. So if this has all been changed, the government is obviously changing the strategy and keeping it a bit underhand. It certainly hasn't hit the news that they've changed that strategy. We were led to believe that the DVSA wanted people to put information out to the test and trace, because they were going to take the information anyway, so they could go onto an app, or it was going to be registered. But it looks like the government have now changed things around. You obviously have another system that's coming in, and they're slowing things down to make room for it. So we're going to have to find out how you do that, and perhaps get that in the next magazine or something. But we're not going to, or we might be able to tell you next week. If we put an update out fairly, it won't be today's update because we won't get the information. But as soon as we get another MailChimp go out with the update, we'll see if we can get it in there for you and see exactly how you're going to do it. Because tests won't be taking place from anyway yet at the moment. There's no test for your students apart from key workers taking place anyway for the next 2 weeks. So you've got time, if they're not key workers, for us to get the information to you. Toilets at test centres are a concern. If you have medical problems that are reported at the time of the test application or booking, then the test centre will have the toilets open for you. But again, we're going back to the guidance that the DVSA had on the movement of people. And as Olivia said, it's not just the clean down of the site after everyone's been in and out, it's the airing of the site. The site can't be used for a certain amount of time. So the waiting room might as well stay closed. That's really the advice the DVSA were given. But toilets can be accessed for medical reasons.
There are 3 reasons. Sorry.
Go on, you can go on.
I was going to say the facilities. So the toilets will be available in exceptional circumstances for those with disability, medical condition, or are pregnant. Yes,
that's right. I had questions this morning fielded to us at the DIA about the wearing of masks. So if, again, masks don't need to be worn on test if it is known at the time of booking that there's a medical reason not to wear a mask. However, because the mask steams glasses up is not an answer. There has to be an intervention that stops the mask from steaming up. So either a reasonably thin clothed mask, which, all right, you might think, well, that's not really helping at all, but it's got to be a way where you are trying to delay the spread through exhaling, etc., but it lets you breathe still properly, so don't steam up. Or
the ones that are better for glasses are the ones where you can mould it around the top of your nose, almost like they've got a really thin bit of wire in them, maybe.
So that's right. But there's also another intervention you can do, which was discussed in last week's webinar, and that is if you wash the glasses in neat washing up liquid, literally both sides of the lens, and wipe that with a cloth and paper until it's completely dry. Just check that it's not giving you not stars, what they call it. It doesn't glare. Just check it doesn't glare. But if you wear the glasses like that, they will remain unsteamed for some considerable amount of time. They really do. And I've done this myself. It does work. But it has to be neat washing up liquid. Don't put them in water after. Wipe that glass off with kitchen towel or a very soft cloth until all the soap is gone, and just check it's not smeared. If it is smeary, then you'd have to just put a very, very lightly damped cloth over it and then dry it again. But until it doesn't smear anymore, but you'll find it does hold back the condensation on the inside and outside of the glass.
Okay. The question about the, did we go back about? The other bits about added to the toolkit. That one, yeah. I've spoken to a few people this week. We have the supplementary T's and C's that we've been promising. They are been doing the rounds, and we've just been getting those finalised. So we hope to have them ASAP. If it isn't today, we appreciate a lot of you. Some of you will be going back tomorrow, but we'll do our best to get them out. If it's not today, then it'll be really soon. And any other bits that we've said, we're just bear with us a tiny bit longer if you don't mind. We're just, as I say, small team, not making excuses, but small team, and we've got a lot on our plates at the moment, trying to get a lot of things done. But we understand that is a real, key thing. So Howard and I are looking at it.
Yeah, we never did promise that we'd get all this ready before we went back to work, because nobody knew when we were going back to work. But we did always say that this was a living, breathing project that was going on to add things to as and when. The getting your car back on the road will be ready next week. Yeah.
Okay. But just as an overview, if you've sawned it off road, check, all the usual checks that you do on the car. Check your insurance. Still valid. What else?
Yeah, it's all that. It's all the legal stuff, MOTs, insurance. Be careful now, because the MOTs on extension on cars now stops. So where you had the extension on an MOT, that has now been withdrawn. If you had it, say from the 31st of March, you've still got it, but any vehicle now, they were going to keep it going until August. They stopped it. So your MOT is due, say, the 1st of July. You need to get it done now. You won't be able to have that extended now. And also with driving licenses that needed to have the photograph extended because of lockdown at DVLA, there's a 7-month stay of execution on that. But the license must be valid. So obviously the 70th birthday bit must be valid. But the actual photograph, which is normally valid for 10 years, has got a 7-month extension if it was since the 31st of March until I think it's the end of July. So those people have got 7 months extra to get their photo cards up together. So when you do your license checks with these students, if their photo card is slightly out of date since the 31st of March, that is okay. But the system is now open for renewals at DVLA. It opened last week. So you'd need to advise them to get the card sent off to get it back ready for the test, because a test could be 2 or 3 months away and then it probably won't be valid. So you've got to make sure that their license will be properly received by the examiner on the day of their test.
Okay, we're going to just answer one or two more and then we'll start to wrap up the session. The one, somebody's asked about Scotland. So at the moment, DVSA are keeping this under review. There isn't a date as such at the moment, unless I've missed something, Howard, or if double check someone else.
No, there's nothing yet, nothing at the moment.
There was an update a couple of days ago and on the gov.uk page about theory tests suspended in Scotland and Wales up to and including 40 have been again rescheduled. But critical key worker theory tests in Scotland and Wales will still go ahead, and they're just keeping the situation under that theory test. I understand, but they're just keeping the situation under review at the moment. So we haven't forgotten Scotland, but all the advice coming out so far is for England. We understand that. A few of you asking, what about Scotland? What about Wales? There isn't any further update at the moment apart from that for the theory tests. And so the minute we get some more information, we'll share it.
Lee's put a comment on here saying that if we are responsible for the cleanliness of the car, then where possible, why can't the toilets and the ability to wash hands be open? Queuing and safe distances are still achievable. Unfortunately, Lee, they aren't achievable. And the DVSA must be able to produce the same facilities across the whole country. And what a lot of people are forgetting is a lot of test centres are like a blinking matchbox. They haven't got the space. So if they can't do it for the vast majority of the population, they can't do it anywhere. That's the situation they're in, and they had a legal challenge over this. They cannot open the waiting rooms. It's not they don't want to; they are not allowed to, and that's the situation. We can't do anything about it. We fought and fought and fought. They finally came back and said to us, "This is the reason. Here's illegal stuff. We can't do it. We're not allowed to." So there are no test waiting rooms. So people have to wait in the car parks. I think there may be a big sale of umbrellas. So if you want to get some shares, you might want to buy some shares in umbrella manufacturers because they're going to be needed.
That sounds obvious. Don't share one with your pupil.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah.
So obvious. I'm sorry to say such an obvious comment. But the other thing as well is just some guidance that, in order for testing and tracing to work as good as it can do, and we understand that there are a few issues still with it, but it's advised and recommended anyway that an ADI badge or certificate is left in the car window. That some take it out for various reasons, but ideally, especially now, leave it in the window for whatever reason, because your ADI, if an examiner presents with symptoms, shortly after, days after the test, then they can trace you quicker on your ADI number. And so this is something that is that NASP recommends that you do. Just so if you did take it out before, for whatever reason you have, I'm not going into that, but keep them in is the best way anyway. But keep them in for that reason. It's to protect you as well.
Right, we've got one that's very important I need to answer here. It's from Peter. Peter says, where can we get definitive help, government-backed help, guidelines on what precautions to take in the car with our clients? I appreciate everything you do, but HSE site is not helpful for our workplace. The stuff we've got in the toolkit, Peter, is government-backed, and it comes from a document it was on the Dove.uk website, and we found it easily, but they've moved it back behind something now, but it's still there, and it's called Preparing to Work in a Workplace That is a Non-Healthcare Setting. That's what it's called. And all of our deep clean information and all of the wipe down information for precautions with the students and about washing hands when they leave home and then putting gloves on, etc., is all in that document, which was issued by the chief medical officer of the government. He put most of that together with Health England. So it's nothing to do with HSE. It's come from the health side of it, and all of it has come from that document. Us and the RAC shared the same information. The RAC website has pretty much exactly the same stuff as we got. It's come from the same source.
Okay, all right. So we realise there's, you've been a great audience as always. We are going to need to start wrapping this up. Thank you for your questions. We are still there for you at support@driving.org. We have been, as we've been saying, we're going to get an awful lot of emails and calls, and we've been managing with that and answering you all. Just bear with us if it's a little bit longer than anticipated. We do our best to come back to you within 48 working hours, Monday to Friday. Sometimes I know that DIA have responded over the weekend in the evenings as well, just to try and keep on top and to respond to you. So we will do our best to get back to you in that time, but bear with us if it's just a little bit after that. Sometimes it might be just due to the sheer volume of messages we've been getting. So, but just like to say again, thank you so much for you giving up your hour today. Hope it's been useful, and a recording of this will be available shortly in the DI Academy, probably early next week, probably from Monday. So we will, you'll be able to access it there. In the meantime, support@driving.org if you've got questions for us, ADI related stuff. Howard and I can come back and answer those, and you can always give us a call on the DIA help desk. If it's general membership inquiries or things like that, it's membership@driving.org. If it's just you're not sure where to send it, you can send it to help@driving.org. So do try and send it in an email if possible. rather than a call, if you can possibly do so. That way it just helps us to manage it.
If you send it to help, but it's actually for the ADIs, it might take a little bit longer to get answered because it's being held somewhere else before we see it. So if you want the ADIs, it's support@driving.org.
Yeah. Okay, so we are going to wrap up, but thank you so much for all your questions and all your, all your interactions and your support. It's been great, and we're gonna wrap up now. So thank you, Howard.
Stay safe and get your research done, is what I say.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, right. Good luck, everyone, and take care. And I hope it all goes well for those of you who are going back, and join us on next Friday's webinar. We'll be having a chat about how that's all going. So take care, and we'll see you soon.